Hey everyone, welcome back to Tow for Drives, where today I'm hoping this rainy gray Michigan day can be brightened up a bit by this 2025 Audi RS6 Avant Performance. I've been living with this hyper wagon all week and I'm excited to show you guys what it's like to daily drive today. So I've been wondering why I like this so much this week. I drove one in 2021 and I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as I like this one. And since I hadn't driven one since 2021, I wasn't aware of some of the updates that they've made since the RS6 Avant first came to the States. So last year in 2024, Audi made it so every RS6 Avant comes standard as a performance trim. And this is kind of in Audi's pursuit to make these RS cars just a bit more emotional, which I love. They started doing that a couple of years ago, and ever since, every Audi RS product that I've driven, I've absolutely loved. The RS5 competition, the RS7 performance that you guys saw on the channel, they've all really been fabulous pieces of engineering. Now, what have they changed in the RS6? Well, it's actually quite a bit. It's kind of hard to tell from the outside because it still looks the same, but under the hood, they've fitted bigger turbos, which means power is up from 590 horsepower to 621. Actually, it was 591. It's now 621, so they've added 30 extra horsepower. It's got a new tune on it as well. It's got like 37 more pound-feet of torque at 627. We still have the ZF 8HP 8-speed automatic, but that's got a different tune on it as well. Of course, we still have Quattro all-wheel drive, but they've put a different center diff in this car. They've also removed 45 pounds of sound deadening or something like that, so you can hear more of what's going on. We've got a couple different changes on the interior. We've got an Alcantara wrapped flat bottom steering wheel. That's part of one of the option packages, which we'll talk about later. But all in all of these little changes come together to make this thing just about perfect, in my opinion. So excited, like I said, to take you guys out on the road and show you what it's all about. This particular RS6 Avant is finished in Nardo Gray, the only no-cost color option. So it's nice to save a little bit of money in that department and helps the $166,000 MSRP be a little bit easier to swallow, I guess, on this particular car. The RS6 Avant Performance starts at $126. This one's got just under 40 grand in options, including the matte carbon exterior package, which is like an $8,000 option or something crazy, but you know, it's kind of self-explanatory. You get these matte carbon mirror caps, you get matte carbon everywhere, and you're supposed to get 22-inch split 5-spoke Y design wheels, which are 22 pounds lighter per corner, but this doesn't have those because we're on the winter setup currently, but we still have the same tire size that you would have with the Continental Sport contacts that come standard on this, with a 285 30R22. So we don't have the lightweight wheels, but maybe we'll try and get this car back during the summer and see what those feel like. But while we're down here, we have to point out these $8,000 optional ceramic brakes with these silver calipers. Absolutely massive. I mean, these are bigger than the wheels on most of the cars that I own. So we'll have to test out the stopping power on those today, see how those feel. Otherwise, I mean, it's just about perfect. I mean, I haven't really found anything that I haven't liked about this car this week. And if you want to be the most excellent looking parent in the pickup line at school, and you have $120,000 plus to spend on a car, which I realize most people don't, but if you have the means, this would be an excellent choice. So let's poke around this. I want to get out of the rain. Also just realized my audio recorder only has about 40 minutes on the SD card, so we're going to try and get this all done before that runs out. Tons of room in the back. It's an Avant. It's a wagon, so very practical. Under the floor, we have this little trim piece as well, which I thought maybe underneath would have a spare. That was just wishful thinking. We have a fix-a-flat kit, you know, all of that normal stuff that you would see in most German cars, but a little small amount of storage under there for, I guess, kind of flat things. You've got some netting over here. You've got hooks for your grocery bags, and this privacy shade, which closes with the hatch, which is nice. Now, this RS6 Avant kind of stood alone as the only hot wagon in America, but now, and that's since Mercedes killed the E63 wagon, but now BMW is bringing the M5 Touring, and in fact, I think those are actually starting to trickle into the US currently. So it's no longer a one-horse race, and I haven't driven the M5 Touring yet. I have driven the regular M5, so I can't compare apples to apples yet, but I don't know, guys. This thing is so good. I can't imagine the M5 would convince me to not have an RS6 Avant. Inside, we have the gray RS design package. This gets us the kind of gray stitching on this beautiful honeycomb pattern on our seats, gray RS badges, and then it also gets you that Alcantara wrapped flat bottom steering wheel, which feels fantastic in the hands. In the back seat, sat behind myself. Even with the seat in its comfort access position, I have plenty of room back here, headroom and legroom. It's not the biggest back seat in the world, honestly, but it's really all you need. I mean, you get so much room in the back. It's really kind of the perfect packaging for me, I think, in a sport wagon. Pulling down the center armrest, you can see we have some cup holders that pop open. And then we even get a little shallow console back here to store some stuff. Makes up for the extreme lack of storage in the front, which we'll get into in a second. We have our own climate panel back here, which, you know, you've got heated seats and all that stuff you'd see when the car is running. 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt. So, and some vents, obviously. 2 seat back pockets, all the stuff, Alcantara everywhere, kind of this exposed weave, dimensional carbon fiber. We've got sunshades back here. We have our own moonroof, which operates independently from the moonroof up front, so that is nice as well. Really just all the stuff that you could ever ask for on something like this. All right, let's quickly pop the hood, and then we need to get out of this parking lot because it's freezing in misery. And the only thing that will make it better is unleashing the 621 horsepower, 4-liter twin-turbo V8. This engine is nothing new. We see this in, you know, all of the Volkswagen Auto Group products that have a twin-turbo V8. And most of them lately in this performance configuration have been making 621 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque. Absolutely mental numbers for this thing. It does weigh about 5,000 pounds, so it's definitely not light, but we have plenty of power to offset the weight. You can see this engine actually sits pretty far forward. It seems like it's in front of the front axle. You can see standing from back here. So certainly not front mid-engine, but with the way that they've tweaked the center diff and things in this car, it does get around a corner and rotate absolutely beautifully. Up front, more of that Alcantara, kind of a nice split trim difference here. You've got this stitching up here on the top of the door panel, some silver detailing, the exposed carbon, more silver, more Alcantara, more gray stitching. This has the optional $5,000 Bang & Olufsen sound system, which you know we will be testing today. And joy of joys, we don't have the stupid, boring-looking massaging seats in this car. We have the regular standard RS seats with the beautiful honeycomb, which is kind of the signature Audi RS look there. So, okay, let's jump in. I am going to be out of the rain. There we go. And I'm quickly going to wipe the camera lens off so you guys don't see water spots, and then we'll start the car. You can see those Bang & Olufsen tweeters rise out of the dashboard. That is a cool thing, and some of the kind of theatrical noises that this car plays when it starts up. Otherwise, I mean, in here, not a whole lot has changed. I think just the steering wheel is the only thing. This has the executive package, which gets us a number of options, but my favorite one is this leather-stitched airbag cover, which I've been seeing as a place that a lot of manufacturers have been cheaping out in lately. I mean, you can buy like a $200,000 Mercedes-Benz, and it just has a molded piece of plastic in the middle of the steering wheel, and it looks terrible. But this looks quite nice, especially accented by this Alcantara. We have some physical buttons in this interior still. Again, though, this is not different. This has been the same since 2021. We have this touch capacitive climate control panel. It works fine. We have a volume knob down here, same infotainment, but we do still have very nice clickable buttons here on the steering wheel, along with this cluster that you can make into a nav screen, which I have always loved. This week I've put 118 miles on this RS6 Avant. I've gotten 12.4 mpg. This is a super fresh car. It's only got 974 miles on it. I imagine Audi's break-in with this is 500 miles because usually the manufacturers don't give out cars unless they are broken in. So we'll still be able to push this thing a bit today. I'm actually happy we're on snow tires because they'll be able to deal with this 40 degrees and wet environment today, so that should be nice, should work on our side. Of course, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This infotainment works like it always has. It works fine. We have 2 configurable Audi RS custom drive modes. I've got RS1 set for sport, drive, comfortable suspension and steering, engine sound in present, because loud would be too obnoxious, I suppose, to say for an Audi. And the sport diff I've got in sport as well. And then RS2, I've got everything turned all the way up sport. I don't know that we'll go into that today with it being wet and cold, but we're going to start out in auto. Audi has also tweaked some of these drive modes to make the difference between them more noticeable. So the difference between auto and dynamic is actually quite large. And until we do the sound system test, I'm going to ditch the screen because we have a little bit of a frame rate flicker situation going on, I've noticed in Audi. So I apologize, the climate control probably will flicker a little bit, but at least we can eliminate this one. So power adjust steering column. There's a number of different ways you can make this cluster look, but for the sake of time today, let's just get out on the road, and if we have a chance later in the video, we will show you those designs. Biggest gripe, okay, and I'm going to get this out of the way before we get on the road because it's really the only thing I don't like about this RS6 and really all Audis right now is there's nowhere to put anything. You've got 2 cup holders, you've got a little slot for the key, which I do like, but that's it. Even the door pockets are not big enough to put a drink in or anything. I mean, you have a little bit of storage down there, and then look how shallow this center console is. You have a wireless charger for your phone, and if your phone is there, that means you only get this little tiny cubby here over on the left-hand side, and then all of the stuff is surrounded by piano black. So I don't like the situation going on here, but everything else makes up for it, and I forget about it pretty much immediately. So let's get out on the road. Into reverse here, you can see backup camera coming up for us. Release our electronic parking brake. We have a 360 camera in this car as well. Also forgot to mention, this has the RS Sport exhaust. That's a $1,000 option. And we also have the RS Sport suspension. So the RS6 comes standard on air suspension. This does not have that. This just has regular kind of coil spring suspension with adaptive dampers. So I think it's nice that you can actually pick what you want. It's just funny to me that the air suspension is the no-cost option. You think that would be extra, but if you're hardcore about your RS6 and you want to go to the track, or if you just down the line don't want to deal with air suspension failing, then you can pay $2,000 and you can get rid of it. So I do appreciate that. So much to talk about, so little time. Let's hit that rear wiper. Nice. And you guys, seriously, when I say driving this car is an absolute treat, I really mean it. In every setting, there are many things the Germans get right, but one of them is always calibration, the throttle tuning, the brake feel, the steering. It's all just so perfect. I would not change a thing about this as far as driving goes. Shifts feel faster and sharper from this ZF 8HP. Especially when you're in manual mode, it absolutely fires off gears. Let's go into RS1 mode. You can see one of our different cluster designs here. Exhaust has opened up. Can bump the stick over to the right, put you into manual mode. You can shift down here, though it's backwards, so I like to use the paddle shifters. And it is just wicked fast. I mean, like, I don't know why you would ever want this to be any faster than it is. It's unbelievably quick. Really, really wide contact patch on these snow tires. 285s all the way around. Oh yes. Okay, we're gonna... That corner's a little sketchy right now. Let's just do straight line stuff. We have rear wheel steering in this car, makes it even more agile. Anything you can think of on the performance front, this car probably has it. Adaptive dampers, rear wheel steering. It will hold gears and bounce off the rev limiter. That is such a cool noise. All right, we're gonna try launch control, even though it's soaking wet out. Actually pretty easy in this car. You just go into RS2 mode, make sure your stability control is in sport, and then transmission in automatic sport. Come to a complete stop, full left foot brake, and then hold the accelerator and it'll tell you when your launch control is ready. And that is supposedly good for 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. I believe them. I believe every second of those 3.3 seconds. The instantaneous nature of this car, the throttle response, the steering, I mean, everything is just so sharp. It's seriously unbelievable. It's an estate car, it's a station wagon, and it can do all of this. I just had to show you guys what the rev limiter sounded like. I'm not going around just bouncing off the rev limiter, but I love when a rev limiter sounds cool. Oh man. When the suspension is in its stiff setting, it means it. It is very, very harsh. I mean, I feel like I'm in a Lotus Exige right now. We're gonna go, ooh, very bouncy. We're gonna go back to auto mode. Just put this thing back into its calm setting there. But the thing is, I'm not upset to go back into auto mode. I'm not upset to be calmly driving this RS6 Avant. It's still such a pleasure. Mercedes GLK, kind of an odd sight. Anyway, as I've said a million times, it's just every setting in this car, it's so comfortable. And the suspension, I can't speak to the air suspension because I haven't driven on it in 4 years, so I don't remember what it was like, but this one, with these adaptive dampers, it settles down so much when you're in the comfort suspension setting. Even on these 22-inch wheels, obviously impact harshness is a little bit much on 22s with a 30-section sidewall. There's no getting around that, and really it's not the car's fault. It's not the suspension's fault, I should say. But the ride quality here is really, really quite nice. So let's get this on the highway. We're gonna run this into town. I'm gonna fill it up with fuel because I'm about to give it to the Topher for the second half of the week so he can get his take on it. Just wanna make sure it's got enough fuel for him. Beautiful linear torque. The progression here is so nice. I mean, we're in 7th gear. I didn't even notice it shifting into 8th, top gear. 60 miles an hour, we're like 1,500 RPM. It's quiet, it's reserved when you want it to be. It's so funny. They removed 45 pounds of sound deadening. I mean, that's a huge amount. That's like a medium-sized dog worth of sound deadening. And yet, you can't really tell in here. It's a flatbed waiting there in position, I suppose, for somebody to crash, maybe? I don't know what that's about. Merging. I mean, you don't even have to put any thought into it. Give it like 20% throttle, it gets the job done. I feel like I could put anybody in this car, leave them in the auto drive setting, and they'd be able to drive it no problem. It's very, very easy to use. Now, since this is made to be an Autobahnburner, I can't do a German accent at all, so I might cut that part out. Since this is made for the Autobahn, masks its speed very well. This can go 190 miles per hour. So driving along here at the speed that's displayed on the cluster right now that you can all see, I feel like I'm going 50. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just such an aerodynamic package. Just cuts through the air, no problem. The wide stance of this car, kind of the low, wide, and slippery nature, doesn't help the fuel economy. 12.1. But as all of you can imagine, there have been lots of spirited driving sessions, so we can't fully blame the car for those numbers. Oh my goodness, what a machine. All right, let's be serious for a second and talk about what this is like to sit in on the highway. Now, I mentioned that this doesn't have the massaging seats like you get on the multi-contour package that we actually saw on the RS7 that we were driving last year. But still, we do have quite a bit of adjustment here to these seats, and they are very comfortable, which really makes me question the logic of paying extra for the really boring looking seats. I would go with these every single time. We've got crumb collectors, aka leg extensions down here. Some good lumbar adjust that goes in, out, up, and down on this seat. Yeah, really, really nice lumbar. Nice support. Elbow comfiness, really nice on this Alcantara wrapped center console. Nice squish. The story's the same on the driver's door panel. I mean, I'm cozy in this RS6. Seating position is fantastic. I can see out of this great, really nice visibility. I don't desire to have a camera rearview mirror. I can see just fine out of the back. Mirrors are good. Kind of minimal blind spots in this. The pillars are pretty thin. Earlier this week, it was like 70 degrees and sunny, and I was kind of sketched out driving on these snow tires, and I was upset that they even sent it on snow tires, when in my mind, spring has already begun. But now today, it's 40 and raining, and I'm like, thank goodness I'm on snow tires, because this would be very sketchy on the Conti Pro Contact 7 or whatever the standard summer is on this. Doing our normal 50 mile an hour merging here, as we love to do in my area. It's an S5 flying up the left lane there. Audi brother. All right, let's test kick down here. We know it's going to be good. Thrust. Good thrust. All right, let's bump this infotainment screen back on here. I like that there's just a button down there on the climate control. You can turn the screen on and off very easily. Let's go back into Apple CarPlay, and we'll get a song queued up to test out this $5,000 Bang & Olufsen sound system. Might actually have to pause this for a second, because we're going to have to see if this RS Sport exhaust sounds good under our favorite bridges here. Windows down in the rain. Pause the sound system test. And then let's go to RS1, manual. Ah, dang it, traffic. All right, let's see. A little bit of noise. It's a very low down grunty noise from this V8. And even with this RS Sport exhaust system, it's not as obnoxious as it could be. And I understand some of the limitations that Audi and these other German companies have. There's a person running across the street with an umbrella. I understand some of the limitations that the Germans have with a lot of the Euro sound restrictions, but maybe give the US market their own unique exhaust system. That would be nice. Not to complain too much, I do enjoy the way this sounds, and it is snowing now. So I guess we're extra happy that we have we have our snow tires on this. Anyway, let's continue the sound system test. All right, there's a lot going on right now. Sound system, very good. As we know, these Bang & Olufsens always do quite a nice job in these Audis. Of course, fuel filler on the passenger side, since this is a German vehicle. Put this into park. And what I like about this is going up that steep driveway, we have sensors kind of under the front lip area. So if you're about to scrape, the car goes nuts. We weren't at quite enough of an angle there for it to freak out, but like going up driveways and stuff this week, the parking sensors have been letting me know how much ground clearance I have, so I really do like that. All right, let's fill this up with some fresh 93. You get these massive black exhaust tips that I can fit my entire fist in there with the RS Sport exhaust. I think they look quite proper. Just the stance of this thing, man. It's so good. I like having entire gas stations to myself. Such an attractive car. I wouldn't get Nardo Gray. There are other colors. There's a nice blue, a nice red. Nardo Gray is just so boring. It has a time and a place, I guess, you know, as far as executiveness goes, and Audi has kept these cars very executive looking. Why are you filling up so slowly? I always do this. I pick the slowest possible pump. It hasn't even done a gallon yet. All right, well, stand by as this drips 93 into my tank. What in the Altima is going on? Okay, I ran out of patience at 8 gallons. Let's see how much that got me. Oh, full tank. Love it. All right. In a city setting, the RS6 feels right at home. I mean, this is probably the 4th time I've said it now. Every scenario feels so natural in this car, and even with the wide stance and everything, the sizing of this isn't obnoxious. I mean, in the US, we're so used to massive SUVs anyway that when people even see a wagon, I don't really think they think of it as a big car anymore. I think this is just about the perfect size as a daily driver. You can fit all of the people, all of the things that you need in it, and it does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds with a V8. Like, just what more could you ask for? I do think actually Audi made an S6 Avant with a V10 Lamborghini engine back in the mid-2000s. I don't think we ever got it in America. We had the sedan version. I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the suspension as well, because I got a little bit worried when I read the Monroney the day that this car came in that the ride was just going to be shocking with this performance suspension. But I mean, you guys can see how bad these potholes are. The soft winter tires help. But I mean, this is dreadful, this road. People often say that it's like I'm driving through a third world country, which I think is funny. The Ann Arbor roads are seriously terrible. But it does fine. It's like the damping is so well dialed in. I mean, it's a firm ride still. It's not floaty. but it's just, it's comfortable. It's a comfortable ride, like a firm mattress, like I like to say sometimes. See, over this section, this is really bad right here. Totally fine. I am just blown away by the ride quality on this car. I mean, you guys can tell how much I love this. I think it's the best thing ever that Audi brought this to the US in 2021. And I like that they're kind of setting a little bit of a trend. Didn't like that gap there. I like that they're setting a little bit of a trend here. BMW now bringing the M5 Touring over, and maybe Mercedes will once again bring some sort of an AMG wagon back to the States. I know a lot of these brands are kind of switching their image a bit. Kind of getting away from the Teslafication of cars and maybe bringing some different models. So we can hope to see one from Mercedes, but in the meantime, if you have $160,000 to spend on a daily driver, have one of these. I'm making the executive decision for you. If you trust my judgment, have yourself an RS6 Avant in preferably a more exciting color than Nardo Gray. I would like to turn left. We'll forgive them. They're just college kids. And we're still going to make the light. No harm, no foul. But anyway, I mean, it's just an all-around really nice cohesive package. I'm gonna go out and say it's probably top 10 cars I've ever driven. And it's really saying something for this 25 model, being a 24 and up performance variant, because the 21 RS6 Avant definitely did not make the top 10. It was good, it was fast, but it didn't kind of ignite my soul. It didn't give me the fizz, as James May would say. And this one gives me the fizz. All of these new little tweaks and tunes that they've done, the extra horsepower, the bigger turbos, the different transmission tune, the different center diff, the removal of some of the sound deadening. It has so much more of a soul than it used to have. I mean, it's, like I said, it's crazy how much of a difference those couple little tweaks can make. No parking structure for us today as it's full. So we're just gonna go end on the side of the road somewhere, I guess. I think we've got about 3 minutes of audio left. This may actually work out quite well for us today. All right, let's just end on Olivia Avenue. Why not? Find somewhere to put the car and wrap this one up for you guys. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this RS6 Avant as much as I did today. Just a fabulous and unbelievable piece of engineering. And Audi has stepped it up so much to the point where I'm starting to tell my friends that I'm turning into an Audi guy. Seriously, they're that good that I'm like, I may consider one of these someday if I'm ever rich and famous and have one for myself. So let's put it right here on the side of the road. Try not to curb these big 22-inch wheels. Use this 360 camera here. See those sensors? You have those sensors on the bottom that help tremendously. All right, well, we're only staying here for a second, so let's show you this RS6 one last time. Thank you. Cool. All right, guys, well, thank you for hanging out with me today. Go check out my RS7 performance video if you haven't already. A little bit more of an in-depth video for what is, for the most part, the same car. But this is still the one I'd have. It's a wagon. I love it, and I hope one day I can have one myself. So thank you guys all so much for watching. The channel's about to hit 100,000 subs. And I mean, that again is just so unbelievable. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you guys know how much I appreciate it. And yeah, so thanks so much for like the 5th time, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.